Welcome to the Veritas Equipping Podcast, a podcast designed to provide insight, resources, and biblical wisdom. Our mission as Veritas Church is raise up mature disciples, send out everyday missionaries, glorify God. Join us as we pursue Jesus to become mature disciples and effective disciple makers for God's glory.
Hey Veritas, what's up? Welcome to our Equipping Podcast. This is Michael Rhodes taking over for Jake today. We officially kicked him off the podcast, at least for today. I'm here with Sam Anderson. Sam helps oversee and lead our equipping and local sending at Veritas, and we are continuing a series today called The Christian on Mission. Jake and I talked last week kind of about the overall biblical look into the mission of God and how we play a role in that. And now the next two podcasts, we're going to look into what that means for our church locally and what that means for our church globally. So before we jump into the podcast, Sam, you've been at Veritas for how long now?
So I actually attended here on our first ever Sunday as a satellite.
OG.
Yeah. I was here, but I was not plugged in, so didn't commit probably until early on in 2014 was when I started attending regularly, and just so happened to meet my wife Kirsten while attending here. May have added to some of the initial reason for sticking around, because there was a pretty young lady that I was very much attracted to.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so tell us about your family.
Yeah, so Kirsten is my wife. We have been married since August 7th of 2015, which was like 5 days before I started on staff here. So I've been married and on staff for both just 6.5 years. Kirsten, she works at UFG, just actually a couple blocks away from church here, has been here since college, and moved to Cedar Rapids for a job, got plugged in at Veritas pretty early on, and has been great. I think just living life together last 7 years of, being in a relationship and then getting married. And so then we've got 3 boys. Theo's 4.5, almost 5. Trip is 2.5, almost 3. And then Trace is just about to turn 1 in, actually, we're recording this early, so by the time it's released, Trace actually may be 1. So he turned 1, will turn 1. That's weird. This is like the space-time continuum.
There you go.
In May.
So your life is pretty calm, right?
Oh, absolutely.
3 boys.
Oh yeah,
under 5.
And Kirsten is in the middle of her executive MBA at Iowa. So we got so much time, to do whatever we want.
All right. Couple questions for you before we jump into questions about local sending. What is something you've been learning lately?
Yes. So I think early on in marriage, somebody asked me like, "Hey, what are you learning?" And the biggest thing was what's your take on marriage? What do you think of being married? And I was like, it's the most rewarding but the most humbling thing that I've ever done in my life. And then having kids, and they're like, oh, this is even more, like on that level, just takes it up. And really, I think like God's been so kind and gracious in each one of those seasons, and just even in maturing and growing and seeing more of my desire to be self-centered and self-focused and how selfish I am. So I've been learning a lot more of the ways, especially in the season, like I said, with Kirsten being in her MBA program, of the ways that I can serve and lead and love my family in just like the small, simple, practical ways that can make a huge difference. And I have a tendency to like do things and then call them out and point to Kirsten, look what I did for you. And not to do that to get that praise. I'll take it. Feel free to remind her. No, I'm just kidding. She does way more than I do. But that the ways that I can love my family well in just simple acts of service, has been a big thing on the front of my mind.
Sure. All right. So you're learning that. What's something you've been loving lately? You don't have to be serious here. Yep. You can be serious if you want, but what's something you've been loving lately?
So recently, we moved last year. Moved into a new house, and then it was unfinished basement, and that presented a lot of opportunities for me to work on the basement, and we're working on finishing it right now.
So much time in your life,
so
right?
much time. Yeah. But with that, I would say like the projects and the things that I'm doing, it's been cool to see Theo and Tripp have gotten interested in doing that, and just like they're not quite to the point of like hammering nails into blocks of wood, but grabbing a hammer and hitting a block of wood. So just like some of that, I remember I was talking to somebody the other day, just is actually somebody that's helping me in my basement, Ted Schuster, shout out, you're the man, like how I got into that. And I vividly remember the first time I ever used a palm sander was with my grandpa. It was in 1995, so I'd been like 7 years old.
How do you remember that 95 is when you used a palm sander?
So it was because it was with the floods. So I was staying with my grandparents, and it was the floods of 95.
Gotcha.
And it was, I remember that too, because we couldn't shower at their place. We had to go up to Camp Dodge and use the public showers there. We went swimming and then showered, and Bo staying with them. But I remember that vividly. Using a palm sander was my first power tool, and that was kind of something that really impressed upon me, and a lifelong love for doing projects and working with tools. And it's kind of cool to share that with my boys now. So excited to continue to do that.
That's sweet. Yeah. That's awesome. All right. So let's jump into local missions. We call it local sending because we want to send out everyday missionaries. So when it comes to local sending, what is our primary local sending strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. So we believe that the best thing that we can do for our city, for the kingdom of God here in Cedar Rapids, where he's planted us, is to send out our people. So it's not like we don't have a ton of programs. We don't have a lot of events, things that we're like drawing people into the church. The way that we are sending, the way that we're being missional, so to speak, is equipping our people to go out into their workplaces, into their communities, into kids' activities, whatever it is that they're doing, to be intentionally on mission for God. So it's our people. That's what we're hanging our hat on.
Totally.
We want to raise up our people.
Absolutely. And that is different from other churches, right? And those churches aren't wrong. Nope. They're doing great work. And a lot of people will ask us, what is Veritas doing in our city? And they're looking for what kind of events are we doing, or what kind of programs are we doing? And we would say, man, we're sending out people to go be on mission as people that go to the grocery store, that go to the gym, that go to their homes and their neighborhoods and their workplaces. That's our sending strategy. So, can you explain more though about? So we're sending out these people, our people,
you people, you people. We're sending you. We're also sent. We're all sent. It's fine.
There you go.
Keep rolling with it.
We are sending out our people. Can you explain kind of more about our approach to local sending?
Yep. So in this, the first series, Jake, you and Jake, Michael, you guys together.
There you go.
We're talking about our approach of own, catalyze, and bless, and you guys laid that out really well, and just talking through what that looks like, what we're going to own with the equipping of our people. So Ephesians 4, the charge to equip the saints for the work of the ministry. Little side note, we're all the saints. That's what Paul's talking about. It's the followers of Jesus. So we are to be equipping our people, us. We're all to be equipped to do the work of ministry. So the way that we do that is kind of our first and foremost thing is our ambassadors class. Sorry, I'd get there eventually. In the ambassadors class, we also use a tool that we have in our resource center that's called the Everyday Missionary Guide. And what we've done in that is laid out, we see in scripture this pattern that Jesus notices a situation, notices the woman at the front of the funeral procession by herself. He feels a certain way. He's moved to compassion. And then he does something about it. He raises this woman's only son from the dead to care for her, to give her a hope, to give her a future. And that's really what we're called to do as followers of Jesus, to live that out, not just as a project or a thing that we do on a every now and then basis, but there's, in the class, it's pretty cool to see people kind of do this assessment of how do I do at noticing? And there's some people that are top notch, you notice everything, nothing gets by you. And there's other people that are I am noticing that I don't notice people. And that's a revelation for them of like being a follower of Jesus calls me to like see other people, to look through gospel lenses in my workplace, at my home, in my neighborhood, like look at things differently with this heart and heart of Christ, and have this compassion on them. And then you kind of assess, like you go through each one of each session in the class, or if you have the book, each kind of chapter, and then the feel, like how do you do at feeling? Some people feel really awkward about things that they notice. Other people feel really burdened and can almost get into that tendency of like, I need to fix the situation. And so really seeing like, what is Christ's heart in the compassion that he's calling us to? There's a really good book, kind of side note here, but it's called The Economics of Neighborly Love. And it goes through the parable of the Good Samaritan and just talks through like how that person was able to love the man that was beaten on the side of the road, that he should have been enemies with, that there was no reason for him to help him, was because he had both compassion and capacity. And that book does a great job of kind of laying that out. Of that's what we want to grow in as followers of Jesus.
Sure.
And
So
then,
we're gonna own that kind of equipping of our people to be those everyday missionaries, because they are our local mission strategy.
Yep, they're doing the work.
All right. So that's on. Tell us about Catalyze and Bless.
Yep, absolutely. So Catalyze is kind of this area that we talk about with strategic partnerships. So people that are doing work in our community, that they've been burdened for a specific area. It may not be like something that we're going to start a ministry, but somebody that's doing something that we're like, this is gospel-fueled work. You are doing kingdom work right here and there. We want to catalyze. We want to provide resources. We want to provide people. We want to partner alongside with you and help you go further, faster, and like promote, whether that's on a Sunday morning, some of our strategic partnerships that we do, like Bridgehaven, Kingdom Community Center, those kinds of partnerships where we're going to call attention to what they're doing, ask our people to join in with that. And so that's kind of that Catalyze strategic partnership category there.
That's great. And then Bless.
Yep. So Bless is something that's like, it's not something that we're going to necessarily align ourselves and call a lot of attention to and say like, hey, this is something that we're going to put a ton of energy and effort to. But we also don't want to deny the fact that God calls people to do things uniquely in different ways that may not be like, hey, this is something that we're going to like put a ton of our support behind, but we want to affirm you in that and help you continue to do that. So it might be a one-time gift, not like ongoing continued support or partnership, but somebody that says like, hey, I've got this need. Is there anything that Veritas could do to help? People submit those requests, and we come alongside them and bless them as they go and continue to do that work.
Sure. Yep. So, all right, let's unpack that whole catalyze. We want to catalyze strategic partners in our city, and you've done a great job explaining people. Those are people and organizations that are already doing great work. Yep. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. We can just jump behind what they're already doing and kind of fuel the flame that they've already got ignited there. So who are our current strategic partners as of today, and kind of give a brief overview of what they're doing in our city? Yeah,
absolutely. So there's it's not just necessarily organizations, but also people groups. One of the groups of people that we strategically partner with are people that have been burdened for foster care and adoption. And just in that, like supporting them, connecting them with additional relationships, resources. There's a lot of people that are doing it and running faster than we can even necessarily catch up. And they're building those support networks and doing stuff. But just some of that, like we've gotten an adoption grant that people can apply for that can support with some of those additional costs. And then, foster care, just that needed support of, and I don't say this from experience. I could let you talk to more of that, obviously, being, involved in that world yourself. But the amount, we've got staff members, plenty of staff members that have gone through that, and just the support of Connection Group, other people that are in foster care, helping them have those relationships and have that network of people that are going to go to bat for them and be advocates, be mentors, whether it's for adoption, that kind of stuff. So so that's the first group. And we keep going with the other organizations. Sweet. So then I've already mentioned these two, Bridgehaven Pregnancy Support Center and Kingdom Community Center. So both of those organizations we have a big connection to through people that are in our church. So Chelsea McDill is the executive director at Bridgehaven. She's a connection group leader here with her husband, Don. They serve faithfully in kids ministry. They've been plugged in for quite a long time. And then with Kingdom Community Center, it's Bart Woods. He's been an elder at our church, has stepped down from that role just in this season of getting the community center started.
But still leading Connection Group.
Yeah, still leading Connection Group, still involved, still, doing so much. Bart's like the Energizer Bunny. He just continues to go and go and go. And then after that, we've got, sure if any of you guys have been here on either the first Sunday of the month or the last Sunday of the month, you've heard us talk about 2535. And in that's kind of our effort to provide resources to the under-resourced in our community. And we kind of have a rotating group of organizations that receive those donations that we provide. It's Kirkwood Community Food Pantry, Mission of Hope, and Bridgehaven's Food Pantry. And then the other organization, the other group of people, I guess, is so there's a refugee church that started meeting here shortly after derecho when the building that they were meeting in got blown down. Some of them come on Sunday mornings and still attend that service, but just that, like, providing them that space to allow them to continue to meet, to have that connection with one another, to have that shared community value time. So that organization of refugees that are meeting here in our space.
Group of African refugees and the Banye Laminge people.
Yeah, I can never say that.
No, it's all right. It's all right. So we're excited to be hospitable to those guys, and they love Jesus deeply and are doing great work. And we're thankful for when they participate with us, but we want to provide a spot for them to be able to worship together in their own language, all that kind of stuff. So, we're super thankful for our strategic partners, and these may not always be the same strategic partners forever, and we're working through how you can become a new strategic partner. But we want to help our people get involved with these organizations, and as needs come up, those organizations let us know. So we try to put those in front of our people as they come up. But what great ministries these are, great organizations, and great people behind the organizations that understand the gospel and want to see the gospel impact, whether it's inner city youth or the unborn or whatever it may be, just people doing great work that we want to jump in behind. So, all right, so that's a lot of stuff that we've talked about. Things that we want to own, equipping our people and sending them out. We want to help catalyze these strategic partners, and then ultimately, we just want to see people living on mission. So, can you, as we finish here today, can you just give us some stories of some individuals in our church that are really doing this, that are impacting our city and being ambassadors for Jesus, helping our people understand that, like, this isn't just crazy stuff that people are doing, but like it's just everyday things that people are doing.
So I think of, like, this isn't necessarily, again, even like organizations that we're setting or like things that we're directing people to do. A lot of it is just our people loving and leading out of what Christ has done for them.
Absolutely.
So the first gal that I think of is a gal named Shelby. She opens up her home to a group of people, like any open invite, uses her kind of network to just invite anybody over for coffee and
lots of
kids over,
lots
of moms coming over. So just to be a blessing to them, and like, I've never been there. I've heard of it from many different circles of people that are friends with her or have been there, or just that. But opening up your home, something as simple as that, but also, like, I mean, you host and lead connection group. Having a connection group in your home, it's like after you have an additional, 20 adults in your house, it's like, okay, we got to put some stuff back and get things in order. Like, just having that, like, hey, our house is not like our refuge. Like, you know,
Sure.
we talked about a couple of messages back, but just that like willingness to provide a space for community and connection to happen. And I can only imagine the conversations that are happening
Sure.
there.
Like mission is going to be messy. Your
Yeah.
house is going to get messy.
Yep.
The conversations are going to be messy,
Yep.
but Jesus is worth it.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
thankful for people like Shelby. Anybody else come to mind?
Yeah, so I already mentioned, I mean, two of the people that Bart Woods and his wife Jenny. So not just with starting the community center, but they've got a pretty cool story that we should probably have them on to tell themselves
Sure.
at some point. But I mean, even from moving their family from one part of town to another part of town to be intentional and to reach an area of our city that is often overlooked and kind of thought of as like undesirable and like don't go there. There's no reason to go there. They moved there and have been intentional with the way that they neighbor. They like poured a concrete patio in their backyard, put up a basketball hoop, and I mean, every time I go over there, I feel like there's another group of neighborhood kids playing basketball in their backyard, and I can only imagine the budget line that they've got for like drinks and snacks and stuff
Yeah.
of all the kids that. But then through that, and being in that area, started to really press upon Bart and Jenny's heart, just of being burning for these inner city youth, and started kind of their a Wednesday night group that was meeting at their place that then turned into this vision for this community center that Bart has started. So something as simple as like moving somewhere has like that story that God is writing through their lives is blows me away.
Yeah,
of
just
like that act of faithfulness, and you don't know what God's going to do with that.
Sure. You move. So you're like, when you're on this mission, you go like everything is yours. Like the location of our home, the location of our family. We're also just going to like play basketball, and who knows what God may do and turn that into for his glory. That's what we're going after. So there's so many people in our church that are doing these things. These are just a couple of those stories, but oh man, it's really sweet to hear what God's doing through our people. And guys, that is our local sending strategy. We want to send people into our city who are equipped to be on mission, who proclaim Jesus, who proclaim the gospel, because that's all we got. That's all we have to bring to our city. And we want to do that really well. So Sam, thanks for spending your time to do this today. Good to get to know you a little more. Hopefully our people get to know you even more than they already do. And I'm just super grateful for all the work that you do in our church to equip our people. And guys, we want you to live on mission. That's what we're all about. And that's what we want you to be about, all for God's glory, because he's worth it. So thanks for listening, guys. Love you guys.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Veritas Equipping Podcast. If you have any questions you would like us to address or ideas on how we can serve you better, please reach out to us by email at info@veritascr.church and put podcast in the subject line.